budget that I expect at the end of the year unless we have a major disaster. Hopefully we don't.
This is
But
current? This is current?
this is as of March 31st. This is your cash balances. General fund is 9,632,000. Road and bridge is 2,080,000. Courthouse and jail, 1,886,000. Health unit, 965,000. Parish-wide garbage, 5,750,000. Library, 6,893,000. Cameron Fires, 849,000. Lowry Fire is 271,000. South Cameron Fire, which is our new consolidated, is 469,000. Johnson Bayou Fire is 2,026,000. Grand Lake Fire, 473,000, and Hackberry Fire is 1,711,000.
This is ours, police yours.
Yes, all the cash balances. But if y'all have any questions of what we spent detailed, or I have it all in front of me, I just didn't print all that out for y'all.
Any large expenditures that we're expecting?
I don't see any, everything's within budget. Shane does have some equipment that's still not paid for, but it's, y'all allocated that at the budget meeting. It's, it has not come out of here, but it's,
How about the, barn, the ground lease barn, because it was, wasn't it, no insurance or no,
We got a FEMA, obligation for that one.
oh, we do?
Yes, and our bids actually came in lower than what, the FEMA obligation is.
So, we're gonna become owners of that building now?
Yes. And it will be insured.
It's on the 2 o'clock voting meeting for y'all to accept the bids.
I can't hear.
It's on the 2 o'clock voting meeting for y'all to accept the bids.
Yeah, I seen it, but I just didn't know if FEMA, what FEMA had done with that.
So FEMA will fund the 90% and your share will be the 10%.
Good. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So mosquito controls, for balance, y'all, anybody know?
I can look it up on the website.
I think it's about 6 or 7 million somewhere in that area.
What's that?
What?
Not the budget, but they have on hand. What their reserve.
I already got plenty of money too, yeah, the library, and you can borrow some.
Well, they are about to fix their Cameron Main
I
library.
wanna know what their expenditures, what their budget would be. They've been having that same.
Now, I understand this might not be the year to do this, but at some point, you know, we was at a point once before the storm where we was trying to make those entities roll back some of those taxes, you know, if they could, if they had a big enough, reserve of money to where we could lessen the, benefit for, the residents.
So that.
Yeah, but this is the year that we, in this.
Well, this
well, then
year
we
you
have
gotta
to
max
go up on
out.
all of them, you have to max out twice, but they don't have no choice.
Every 4 years you have to,
Next year.
or you lose it, whatever you
Yeah,
don't.
lose it if you don't go up, so.
But that
On the agenda.
is in line with some conversations I've had about what is an appropriate reserve, and it may be different for fire, water, rec.
Exactly.
How much in reserve? Is it 1 year of maintenance and operations? Is it 5 years of maintenance and operation?
2 years.
Okay, fire, the school may say they need more than that. I mean, that's not y'all's, but I mean, just in general, it may not be consistent across the board.
Right.
Fire departments may say, hey, we need 4 years. If we lose our building and all of our equipment and trucks, we need $3, $4, $5 million. So it may, but just think about that, because in the years to come, when the LNG plants come online fully and excess revenues start to come in and questions, they may challenge us with, hey, how much do y'all need in reserve? So it's just some discussions we've had with the industry about what is the appropriate amount. Again, it may fluctuate depending on the type of entity or the type of board, but it's something that, I'd like some feedback from y'all in the coming weeks and months of, hey, my fire board credit report says they need 3 years, so forth and so on, just to give you some feedback.
Haven't we had a question, didn't we have a question before here, was it last year, we had a question about,
Yes, sir, and I called, like the legislative auditor's office, it took me like a week just to get somebody, and they did tell me that there's no law. Now, an auditor can come in and tell us their suggestion and tell us we need to roll back, but there's no law, which we're nothing, we don't have the money over like.
yeah, but there was an entity that requested, information on the taxes in a certain area this past year, right?
Say that again? I didn't hear.
An entity
They had a company that requested, some information on how much, a certain entity had in their bank account or something.
It's public record, somebody can ask for it, I mean,
And I'm just asking, 'cause
Yeah. Now this,
I know there was, so.
I don't recall that request.
I had a conversation with one of the tax deals. When we pass laws in Cameron Parish, a lot of time when we pass for our taxes, we just put to say, we want 10 meals. Well, there's no levy on that, there's no amount. But when you pass those, you can put a certain amount on there that they can't collect above that, or they have to roll them back. We don't have that.
No. So your tax proposition, the next month, you'll have to call an election for 3 of your renewal.
Mhm.
But the typical, or the proposition, little paragraph that says what you're gonna do. May the police jury levy, blah, 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 and it may say, and have a number, sorry. Up to 10 meals, okay, that's what you're entitled, up to an amount, whatever that millage is. The bond commission wants us to include in that proposition what your expected annual revenues.
Right.
That's not a cap, it's not a minimum, that's just information purposes, to let the public know that if you collect 10 meals, or if you enforce 10 meals, then you'll collect $5 million.
Right.
The dollar figure is purely information. It doesn't limit, cap you, or change anything, it's just purely information. What's the important is that meal, how many meals, and that's your cap.
Yeah.
As I say that, I learned something just a few months ago. So let's just say your proposition says you can collect up to 10 meals. Well, historically, you can't go to 10.1 or 12, your cap is 10, whatever the proposition says, people voted 10, period. If your assessed value, if the assessor's value on their books decreases, and your 10 meals doesn't generate, this is generally, the assessor's office is not here, but that explained to me. So if your assessed value goes down and your meals, your max meals at 10 doesn't generate your prior year's budget, whatever you collected, then you can actually go up higher than that 10.
You can, without.
Yeah, no, that was a surprise to me. I even called a bond lawyer in Baton Rouge, says, hey, my assessor just told me this, and he goes, yep, we just learned that. That's unusual.
Yeah.
It's usually, because it happened in Lafourche or Terrebonne because of that hurricane down there a year or two ago, that they had, and said that's what happens. If you have a decrease in your assessed value, you can't, and you maximize your meals and you can't collect, then actually you can go up in order to, I think it's to meet your prior year budget or something. That's an exception to the rule. And I just.
So there's no limit you can put in when you write your tax?
No, that is, no, I'm saying, the 10 is your limit. There's a very limited exception to that I just explained.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in most places.
Right.
It's just usually a hurricane disaster where you have a significant decrease in your assessed value.
But they do.
Typically, your millage on the proposition, if it says 10, you can't go above 10.
Okay, but just looking at this time, just say like, Hackberry and Johnson Bayou Fire, because they got a plant. So we want 10 meals, but they come build this plant. Well, then the 10 meals is assessed on that plant, so it goes way above the money you actually need, and that's why they get so much money in their accounts. But there should be a limit, to me.
Okay, so there's not. So you're talking about
The two
variables. There are 2 variables that result in your revenue. One is the millage, whatever that may be, and the assessed value on the books of the assessor's office. And so when the plants come onto the rolls of the tax, all of a sudden your assessed value is gonna shoot up. And if your millages stay the same, then all of a sudden you're gonna collect a whole lot more money.
Right.
You're not Now, so in theory, and what industry is expecting of us is to roll that 10 mills back down to maybe 2, because your assessed value's gone so far up, the 2 mills will collect you the same on this as your 10 mills collected on this value.
There's no law says you have to do
But
that.
that's right, there's no requirement that you have to roll back.
And that's kind of what we're gonna discuss with y'all today when we levy the tax. That's a scenario that happened this year. We had an increase in assessed values because some of the plants came on.
Mhm.
So tax assessor and legislator, they rolled our millages down for us. That's what you call that adjusted max mill. If you look
Right.
in your packets, you can see your adjusted max mill is lower than your max mill.
Mhm.
So we're authorized to collect max mill, but legislative order rolled us down so we would collect the same amount.
Mhm.
Now, you have the option to roll forward. So even though you're getting the same amount of tax dollars, if you don't wanna lose your authority to collect
You gotta
the
go back up,
difference,
yeah.
you have to roll forward.
Just this
So it
year,
would be an
right, yes.
increase
Right.
in taxes that you would be collecting.
This year, but to help our parish and our people in our industry to come here, we should roll those back.
Well, so this year, in order to maintain your max,
Right.
you haven't been collecting your max, but
Right.
to maintain it, because you might need it in the future, you have to roll it up to the max.
Understand.
Well, you're gonna collect excess revenue this year, then next year, maybe you, in the years to follow, you kind of roll it down where it ends up being an average,
Mhm.
but you have to just, that's,
Right.
now,
If you gotta buy a new fire truck, then you know you gotta go back up, then you?
it's just, it ultimately averages out. So for instance, I was told I gotta pay, I'm just gonna make up a number, I gotta pay $20 in taxes this year. Well, last year on my property, on my house. Well, this year it's gonna be $25 because everybody's having to roll up. So it's just gonna increase my tax obligation because the millages are going up. My value hasn't changed, but in order to preserve the ability to go, use that max mill, y'all gotta roll everything.
We have to do that every so often.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years. You need to put that in the paper, why are we going up on the tax?
Well, there was something on the ballot last fall, or this past fall, the constitutional amendment that would have eliminated that requirement every 4 years. It's a constitutional issue, I don't know.
Mhm.
But the public, it wasn't promoted very well, and the public voted against it. And so now we're having to roll
Roll
max.
back up, yeah.
Yeah, it's a statewide issue
We,
that
we wanna
everybody
be
has to
careful
do.
what we put in the paper as far as taxes go, because people already don't wanna vote for them.
But I know
Well,
that, last year the taxes was $20 and this year it's gonna be 25.
Yeah.
They're gonna
And
be
but we need to
hollering.
have answers for that. I don't know about putting it on, in the paper.
Well, we're on Facebook, people can go back and look, I mean, so in theory, you'll roll up, max out your millages,
Right, this year.
what the propositions allow, your max, because to preserve that in case you need it in the future. But next year will be maybe a little bit lower than it was last year, to, again, average it out. So while I may be paying $25 at the end of this year, I paid 20 last year, maybe in 2025, maybe I only pay $17, because you've rolled it down to average it out. I'm not, that's just an example, in theory, how it would work. So while it may go up this year, it's less than last year, it probably will be, it's more than last year, and next year will be less than this year, just because.
It's like the library was on there like 8 or 10 years, but we had got all that money, built it up, so we made them, I think we had a 6 mil, we made them go all the way to a 3 mil, just so we kept that money. We didn't wanna take any more, we had plenty of money, so we lowered it.
Look, y'all, I know,
But this might be and I hate to say it this way, but this might be a good way to show the public how we have reduced.
I had in some emails about this, Katie and I and Scott in his office, I'd asked for those historical numbers, and I think if we just take a board, just take one, Grand Lake Rec District, and just show historically how their millage has gone up and down. Grand Lake, they probably max out. Somebody that doesn't max out their millage, and just find one just by way of example where you can see where somebody may have a max of 10, but they're only collecting 6.
Like the library.
Cameron Water may be a good example where they've not had.
9.4, they're at 7.4.
Yeah, so that, when Joe, Kirk, maybe Lee, when y'all first got elected 10, 12, however long it was, your objective, what you went to some of these boards, not even boards in your district, but you went to board meetings to try to get them to recognize that what is an acceptable reserve?
Right.
3 years of operations, 2 years, so forth and so on, because they kept their millages at a certain point, and they're generating all these reserves every year and building up these war chests, which they need some amount of money. Just the question is how much, and again, it's different for each board or agency. But y'all were able to convince some of these boards to roll their millages back just to pay their annual operations and maintenance. They'd already had this reserve and they had enough money that they didn't need to keep adding to it. And that was successful back then, and then we got a hurricane too.
And that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
So
so,
the water boards, one water well costs you $1 million.
right.
So you, that might be
Yeah,
different.
your annual maintenance and operations for a water board, let's say, might be $500,000 a year. Well, heck, you're right, you might need 6 or 7 years of reserves, because if you lose a water tower, you lose a water well, you know, you need all that extra money.
Well, I really believe that the public needs to see us doing everything we can do to manage their money in the best way we can, cause that's why we're here.
Yeah, I agree.
We're not here to, open banks up because one part of the parish is getting filthy rich, cause they have an LLC and they draw money from it. Just because they got that money, they'll never.
You must be, I know 3 plants and ain't nobody getting rich.
No, I'm just using that as an example.
I will say this though, when it comes to these taxes, wanna be careful how you roll them back. Because you gotta roll back the fire tax. They had to come borrow money from the state operation. So we wanna be careful how we do that, and again, that comes into what is acceptable.
But long-term plan.
They're sitting on 1.7, but right now.
At some
they
point
need
in
fire
time,
trucks.
we're rolling back, we're gonna be
So
making
you're looking at almost
$10
$10
million from the fire department, yeah, we don't need $10 million a year.
Listen, only thing I'm saying is that we need every board to think responsible.
Correct.
I'm not saying that they need to have X amount of dollars. I'm just saying that you need to be responsible. And when you can, roll back the tax.
Exactly, that's why,
So-
the only reason they doing it this year is because they have to.
No, I understand that, and that's why I said it first, but I know this year's not gonna be one of those years we can do that, but in the future, we need to.
I attend a lot, more than each, I have to go to different board meetings for different reasons. And I find, look, they're people in the community, they're paying the taxes. I think they do their best to to be as reasonable and frugal with the tax dollars as they can. That's been my experience.
So that's good.
No, it is good. I think because again, they are the people in the community, they are paying taxes just like we all are and everybody else, and they understand their obligation, and they do it in my experience, do a good job.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay no more than they have to either.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
So,
Anything else? Go ahead.
no, you guys are gonna have a decision to make in the next meeting. Are you going to just levy your adjusted max nil, which is gonna generate about what you collected last year? It's gonna still establish that amount, which is still significantly higher than your authorized amount? Or do you wanna roll forward, because there is a small amount, like a millionth, I think, of a percent that you would be foregoing if you don't roll forward. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. Michelle and I ran some numbers. It would cost the average taxpayer about $18 if you roll forward, and it's gonna generate about anywhere between like 30 and 40 additional, like $40,000. So do you wanna roll forward, cause you just might, you don't wanna lose that authority of that 1/1000 of a percent? Or do you wanna just levy what you did and leave that as your adjusted
For the
max?
general fund?
For general fund and for, Grand Lake Fire.
That's all these on the paper, all these on the paper, huh?
Yes, so we have the resolution prepared right now. as if you were just going to levy your adjusted max meal. If you wanna roll forward, we're gonna have to go through some extra steps. You would have to make a motion that you wanna roll forward, and we'd have to start all sorts of, advertisements, notifying the public that you were rolling forward, which, without calling an election.
No, I don't think.
We're not maxed out right now.
No.
No, but if you don't roll forward, you're gonna lose that small meal.
That's what I'm saying, if we don't roll forward, we lose whatever.
You're gonna lose it, but is it a significant amount of money? No.
If it's only 30,000. But just to keep the authority, keep our authority.
You wanna just keep the authority,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to go through some extra advertisements. And I'm gonna tell you, like, the advertisements that you have to do, it is a notice to all voters that you are rolling forward and increasing your taxes without an election of the voters.
Well,
So
it's still the same meal.
We're not increasing.
But that, it is technically, like,
Yeah.
and you have to advertise it that way. So you guys, it'll have to go in the Cameron pilot that you're rolling forward.
If it was a new tax, or we were increasing taxes, we'd have to go to the polls to do that.
That's what roll forward is. You don't go to the polls, that's why you have to give notice to the public that you are electing to roll forward, which is technically an increase in tax, because it's tax that the legislative auditor thinks that you don't need to collect. But it's catch-22, like, you will lose the authority if you don't roll forward. But if you do roll forward, it's gonna be published in the paper that it is technically an increase in tax.
It's confusing. You are authorized by the voter to levy a max meal of
The general school point.
We've done this.
4.05 on one of your items. 4.05. You have been levying 4.02. So you're talking about 3/100ths of an increase on that particular thing, on that, whatever that item, that's
General, that's our
your
general.
general fund. So
What we lose on the other ones.
if you don't go up, if you don't roll it up that 3/100ths, then you're gonna lose that 3/100ths in the
Your
future.
max is only gonna be at the four.
We've been doing this ever since we've been fuel.
Right, and it's been the same, you've rolled it, well, I don't know.
No, you didn't roll forward last time, and that's when Johnson Bayou lost their authority, Cameron lost some taxing authority,
Yeah, so then your max is whatever you're currently at.
they lost
I
about,
really don't wanna do that because I'd rather roll it forward, because there is some entities that roll, say the library's only getting 3 meals right now. They're doing their best to work for us. And if we roll it back, that means they only can collect 3 meals from now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
We won't do that.
Now-
So, for example,
Now you're fixing to come up high.
library has been levying 6 meals,
I know,
they can go up to 8.
they could roll
The
that.
8 is their max, according,
What about the ones you said that didn't raise it up last time? Can they do it this time?
no. if
no, they lost
They
it.
lost
They lost it.
And then Johnson Bayou and Cameron Fire both got into financial.
And they
trouble.
combined of what we need to make a decision on, what is the total roll forward of all these entities? Is that $30,000?
For the general fund, it was about 30,000, your courthouse and jail is one of them, Grand Lake Fire is actually probably the one that's gonna be impacted the most if you don't roll forward, because they're at 5.06, and their max meal is 5.7.
But all
So
we're
that's
doing is
7 cents.
that we're preserving their millage rate
That they
that they voted for way back or whatever.
Yes,
So, I guess what I'm asking is, Grand Lake Fire, where are they at now and what is the max they can go to?
right
Hey,
now,
You have, okay, in your packet, you have this document
We got it.
On your computer.
on your computer.
What page?
So agenda item number 3,
Under your, finance meeting.
there's a cover sheet that looks like that. Finance meeting, agenda item number 3. You flip the page and
Yeah.
you start getting all these numbers.
Right.
And if you look at, just take the first one, general alimony, that's your general, and you go across the page, and toward the right-hand side, you'll see all the millage numbers.
What numbers,
And then you can see and most of these are maxed out.
A lot of them are.
Cameron, Hackberry, Cameron, what fire district is it?
Which, who's,
14.
14 is right away. They're
So it's levied at
5.7.
5.7,
let's find it. So they're at the bottom of that first page.
right,
Fire district, so if you look at that,
so it's 5.7 and they, right now it's 5.060.
Yeah.
So if you don't roll up,
They lose
they're
that.
only they're gonna lose the 5.7, it's
6.4.
gonna go down to 5.06.
Yeah.
0.64.
right, so you're talking about half a mil,
Yeah.
or a little more than half a mil roll up. But if you don't, then they lose it in the future.
Right,
So that's an example. And that, you can go across each one of these and see what they've, for instance, the top of the next page is mosquito abatement district number 1, I think you only have one mosquito. If you look, it has a 10 and a 5.9, so they've been levying 5.9, but they could go up to 10 if they,
but that's up to them. on-
That's up to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I'm
We
just-
don't
yeah.
control that.
Yeah, we
That's
just
an
throw this
example.
page here.
right, correct.
Yeah, this is the ones we
Well,
control.
Just a for instance.
I think if, they voted it in way back, I'm like Thomas, I think we'll try to keep it and we can roll it back next year.
Mm-hmm.
In the event we need it later, it's there. If we don't take it now, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, whichever way we go with it right now.
Yeah.
It is, but just so you know, because you were gonna get calls about it when it starts getting published in the pilot.
Right.
The notice that is required by law will say that you are optioning to roll forward, which is increasing the tax. And people are gonna automatically think that that it's a new tax,
We're doing something.
yes.
And it's not a new.
That's what I said, well,
But
Put
we
some
just
kind of
put
ad
another
paper
article on
explaining
it,
to 'em.
explaining that.
yeah, so I said, we need to explain to them that this year that we gotta do this, and we can roll back again next year. You're gonna have a
Yeah.
chaos going
Just,
on.
you just gotta educate the public that this is just something we do every 4 years.
Yeah.
We've
It
been,
really is something they already voted on.
Yeah.
Correct.
they done,
How many of these have rolled back that can't roll back? I see some zeros in there on the adjusted millage rate. What is that?
Oh, some of them are just, mandated by law, that set, like your, sinking funds, your bond funds, like those don't adjust. You just, you collect what you need to collect, you levy what you need to collect.
All right, which one is, Nick? Council Mike? All right.
Wait, look,
So are you looking at the
It says
resolution?
4.18, and it says adjusted millage rate 4.16. Max and mix, so it's gonna go up to 1.8?
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
That's max. What was the rate before they rolled it back first?
What are you talking about, which fund?
Top 10 there.
Delta Valley Fire, okay, yeah, that's in your authority.
so that's the
I'm
bottom,
on the wrong one, I'm on Waterford, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Where is it at? All right.
So they're levying
Yeah.
to 8.2.
It says 8.23,
Yes.
8.23. So what was it before they rolled it back? If it's 8 now, what was it then?
District Lower Cameron.
I have to go back and pull some old files, but I think they lost around 2 mils.
2 meals?
I think so. Does that sound right? It was,
I think they were levying 8.2 and rolled it back.
Oh.
yeah, they were authorized like at 10, and then they were always levying 8, and they lost 2 mils. I have it in my files, Mr. Stoney, I can show it to you.
So, I got a question, Tom. Cameron Hospital,
Where is it on,
number
where,
32
32?
on the left.
Got it, all right,
It's levied at 14 mils, right?
yeah, so,
And they're drawing 16.13.
the hospital is that what I,
Just explain.
they're the one exception, that's the one that I was explaining. Generally, you can only go to the max of your proposition.
Right.
They're collecting more than that proposition max because their assessed value
It's
went
down.
down that they could go up.
Right.
That's,
So it's
that
there.
was, I questioned multiple people about that, and I got the same answer, is when your assessed value goes down, that's the one exception to the rule where you can actually go up higher than the proposition says.
I thought that was it.
I did too. I'd have lost that bet by a long shot,
Me too.
but that's,
I just noticed it, and that's why I was bringing that point
that
out.
was, that's, the hospital is the one that I was questioning, because I'm looking at the proposition that says 14 meals.
Authorized rate 14, right.
And they're collecting 16 something. So I call Scott, his office. I'm like, I still don't. I'm like, okay. And I call the bond lawyer in Baton Rouge. He says, yeah, the way, that's the exception to the rule. That's just an example.
Yeah, that's your adjusted max now. It's always gonna fluctuate depending on your assessment value.
Where's it at?
So when you guys, at the next meeting, you have to take action on something. So if you wanna go ahead and discuss what option you are leaning towards, we can have everything prepared for the 2:00 voting meeting. If you think you're gonna roll forward,
We need to roll
then we
it up.
need to change,
Well, we don't need to change anything.
I agree, we
Make
need to
sure
roll
the
it up, but
motion-
we need to
yeah.
explain that in the paper too.
Yeah, y'all have to make a motion if y'all wanna roll forward, so we can start all of the advertising. And then the July meeting, we'll adopt the resolution with all the roll forward amounts.
I'll ask Scott to try to put something together that he, we can look at and publish and educate the public about.
Yeah.
We need
Why?
the authority to advertise the roll forward.
I would just say, authority for staff to publish and,
Yes,
put
authority to
notices out.
advertise
Yeah.
roll forward.
Cause I think you're probably gonna have to do some public notices as part of the police stream meeting too.
Yeah, because he's gonna get beat up too.
Their max rates.
No, I'll ask
Yeah,
Scott.
there's it.
Explanation, may be good,
Come up with
Yes,
something.
I agree. Right.
Yeah.
So we agree to that, you know.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna answer.
And then you have to.
Right.
You need a notice of the- That's the one.
2 consecutive weeks within so many days.
Everybody, anything else?
Nope, I'm hungry, Joe.
I am too. Anything else, Kate?
No,
Tom?
sir.
But they,
Shane, you need some more money somewhere?
Yes, sir.
Shane's cut off.
I'm sitting at this table, and I now know why I'm sitting here. all the time.
You get,
Anybody got anything else?
I'm gonna work for the school board.
Yeah.
Right here, they giving out money over there.
Anybody got
I
anything
just
else?
need to get what I ordered.
Good over there talking about stuff.
move to adjourn.
No, sir, I'm sorry, sir.
All right, got a motion to adjourn? Second by Mr. Butcher. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Mary.